Have you ever felt completely invisible? Like no one sees the struggle you're going through? If someone left you a message that changed your life in an instant, would you believe it? For Mia, today was supposed to be just another exhausting shift at the cafe. The kind where she counted every second until she could finally take off her apron, collapse into bed, and forget about the world for a while. The bills were piling up. Rent was due next week. The tips had been embarrassingly low that day. Just a few crumpled bills and loose change tossed onto tables by customers who barely even looked at her. She wiped down the counter, sighed, and glanced at the clock. Still 2 hours to go. Then the soft chime of the bell above the door snapped her back to reality. A man walked in, tall, lean, dressed simply in jeans and a black t-shirt. There was nothing flashy about him, but something about his presence made the room feel smaller, quieter. He wasn't alone. 2 men followed behind him, keeping a careful distance. Mia's hand tightened around her notepad. She knew that face. Elon Musk, the wealthiest man in the world, had just walked into her cafe. But why? This place wasn't a luxury restaurant. It was a small, quiet spot, hardly the kind of place where billionaires stopped for coffee. Mia took a deep breath and approached his table, trying to steady her voice. "Good afternoon, sir. Can I get you something to start?" Elon looked up at her, his blue eyes calm but sharp, studying her for a second before speaking. "Just a black coffee. No sugar, and whatever pastry you'd recommend." Mia scribbled the order down, still trying to process the moment. She had served all kinds of people before: rude businessmen, impatient customers, tired parents. But something about him was different. He wasn't distracted by his phone. He wasn't in a hurry. He just sat there, thinking. As Mia turned to place the order, she had no idea. This ordinary moment was about to change everything. Would you have recognized Elon Musk if he walked into your cafe? What would you say to him? Tell us in the comments below. If someone truly saw your struggles, the pain you hide behind a smile, and left you a message that could change everything, would you believe them? Or would you think it was just another empty gesture? Mia tried to shake off the nerves as she carefully prepared the coffee. The steam from the machine hissed, filling the air with the rich aroma of roasted beans. She reached for the freshest pastry, a warm, flaky almond croissant, and arranged it neatly on a plate. But her mind kept drifting back to the man sitting in the corner. Elon Musk, billionaire, innovator, a man constantly in the headlines. Yet here he was, sitting alone, looking almost lost in thought. She glanced at him again as she placed the coffee and pastry on his table. "Here you go, sir," she said politely. He looked up, gave a small nod, and offered a faint but genuine smile. "Thank you." It wasn't just the words. It was the way he said them, like he actually meant it. Mia stepped away, but something about the interaction felt unsettling. Not in a bad way, but in a way that made her stomach twist slightly. She had waited on all kinds of wealthy people before. Most barely looked at her. Some treated her like she was invisible, but this was different. Minutes passed. Mia wiped down tables, refilled sugar containers, and tried to focus on anything but the strange energy in the room. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw it. Elon Musk pulled out a pen. He leaned over the check and started writing. His movements were deliberate, precise. He wasn't just signing his name. He was writing something longer. Mia felt her heartbeat quicken. What was he writing? As he finished, he folded the receipt neatly, tucking it under the empty coffee cup. Then, without another word, he stood up, grabbed his phone, and slipped on his jacket. Mia barely managed to speak as he passed her. "Thank you for stopping by, sir," she said. Elon turned slightly, met her eyes, and nodded. "Take care." And then, he was gone. The bell above the door chimed softly as he stepped outside, his security following behind. The cafe returned to its usual quiet, as if nothing had happened. But something had happened. Mia swallowed, forcing her feet to move toward the table. The coffee cup sat empty. The croissant plate held nothing but crumbs. And there it was, the folded receipt, sitting exactly where he left it. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. At first, she expected to see a generous tip, maybe something a little above average, like some wealthy people did. But as she unfolded the paper, her breath caught in her throat. The number at the bottom made her vision blur. And then she saw the note, a message written in Elon Musk's own handwriting. Her hands began to shake. Her knees felt weak. She read the words once, twice. By the third time, the tears had already started to form. This wasn't about money. It was about something much, much deeper. If you found a handwritten note from Elon Musk on your receipt, what do you think it would say? Leave your guess in the comments below. Have you ever read something so powerful, so deeply personal, that it made you question everything? What if a few simple words could change your life forever? Mia's hands trembled as she stared at the receipt. The number at the bottom of the check was staggering. A 4-digit tip, more money than she usually made in an entire month of shifts. Her breath hitched, but that wasn't what made her knees go weak. It was the note. A simple, handwritten message from Elon Musk himself. She swallowed hard and read it again, slowly this time, letting every word sink in. I see how hard you're working. I've been there. Never stop believing in what's coming next, because sometimes the biggest opportunities come when you least expect them. Keep going. Mia's heart pounded. She felt exposed. How could a stranger see through her so easily? She blinked rapidly, fighting back the tears. The cafe was still bustling around her, but in this moment, everything else faded away. She gripped the note tighter, her knuckles turning white. Because he was right. She had been drowning, working double shifts, skipping meals, struggling just to keep a roof over her head. Every day she wondered if it was all worth it. And now, the world's richest man had left her a personal reminder to keep going. Why? Why would he write this? Mia sat down, pressing the receipt to her chest as if holding on to something fragile. She thought about all the times she had wanted to quit. All the nights she cried herself to sleep, wondering if life would ever get easier. And now, a complete stranger had just given her the hope she didn't even realize she needed. The lump in her throat grew heavier. She wanted to tell someone, but who would even believe her? She wiped her eyes quickly, glancing around the cafe. No one seemed to have noticed the moment that had just changed her world. For them, it was just another ordinary day. But for Mia, everything had shifted. She reached into her apron pocket and folded the receipt carefully. She wasn't ready to share it. Not yet. This was hers. At least, for now. If you received a note like this from Elon Musk, how would you react? Would you believe it? Or think it was just a coincidence? Comment below. If someone unexpectedly believed in you when you were at your lowest, would you take it as a sign, or just call it luck? Mia sat there, staring at the note for what felt like forever. Her hands still shook. Her chest felt tight. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about Elon Musk's fame. It was about the words. He didn't have to write anything. He could have just left the tip and walked away. But he chose to say something, and what he wrote felt like he had somehow seen right through her. Mia thought about all the times she had told herself, I can't do this anymore. I'm exhausted. Maybe I should just give up. She had whispered those words to herself so many times in the quiet of the night, convinced no one would ever notice. And yet, somehow, he had. She traced the handwriting with her fingertip, trying to understand. Did he know what she was going through? Did he see something in her that she didn't even see in herself? Her thoughts were interrupted when her manager's voice cut through the moment. Mia, you okay? She looked up, realizing she had been standing frozen at the table for too long. Her manager, a woman with years of exhaustion in her eyes, narrowed her gaze. "What's that?" Mia hesitated. She had no idea how to explain. She held out the receipt with shaky fingers. The moment her manager's eyes landed on the number, she gasped. "What? Who left this?" Mia swallowed. "Elon Musk." The words sounded unbelievable even as she said them. Her manager's jaw dropped. "Are you serious? The Elon Musk? The billionaire?" Mia nodded, still trying to process it herself. Her manager's eyes darted back to the note, and as she read the message, her face softened. For a long moment, she didn't say anything. Then, in a voice quieter than usual, she murmured, "You know, he's right." Mia's throat tightened. "What do you mean?" Her manager gave her a knowing look. "I see it too, Mia. You work harder than anyone here. You take care of customers who don't even bother to look at you. You show up every day, even when I know you're struggling. You don't see yourself the way the rest of us do." Mia's chest ached. No one had ever said that to her before. She looked down at the note again, her vision blurring. Maybe Elon Musk wasn't the only one who saw her. Maybe she had been wrong about a lot of things. And maybe, just maybe, this was the sign she had been waiting for. Do you believe in signs? If you received a message like this, would it change the way you see yourself? Comment below. If the world suddenly noticed you, would you be ready, or would you want to hide? Mia held the note in her trembling hands, her heart racing. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to feel. This was just supposed to be a normal shift, a long, exhausting day like any other. And now? A billionaire had walked into her life, left a message that felt too personal to ignore, and disappeared. Just like that. It should have ended there, but it didn't. Her manager had barely finished whispering to the barista when the whispers turned into something bigger. "Mia, you served him. What did he say? Did he really leave you that much? Wait, he wrote you a note? What did it say?" The cafe buzzed with excitement. Even customers had picked up on the energy, stealing glances at her, whispering among themselves. Mia's fingers tightened around the receipt. She didn't want this. This moment, this note, it was personal. It wasn't for the world to dissect. She stuffed the note into her apron pocket and tried to act normal. Tried to pretend she wasn't shaking inside. But it was too late. The story had already started spreading, and Mia had no idea that by the next morning, the whole world would know. What would you do if your private moment suddenly became public? Would you embrace it or run from it? Comment below. If your life changed overnight and suddenly the whole world was watching you, would you embrace it or wish it had never happened? Mia woke up the next morning to the sound of her phone buzzing non-stop. She groaned, rolling over, squinting at the screen. 100+ new notifications. Her stomach dropped. She tapped the first message. "Mia, is this you? You're all over the news." She blinked, her heart pounding. The second message. "Your story is trending." Elon Musk's note to a struggling waitress. Everyone's talking about it. She bolted upright, scrolling faster. Screenshots of the receipt. Her receipt. The note, Elon Musk's handwriting, her name. It was on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. A news article headline made her breath catch in her throat. Elon Musk leaves struggling waitress, a life-changing message. The internet reacts. Mia's hands shook. How? How did this happen? Who posted it? How did it spread so fast? The comments flooded in. This is the kind of kindness we need in the world. Mia, if you're reading this, we believe in you. Don't give up. Elon Musk is a legend for this. Where is this waitress? We need to hear her story. Mia's throat tightened. This wasn't just her moment anymore. Her private, deeply personal experience had become something much bigger, and now she had a choice. Did she step into the light or hide from it? Her phone buzzed again. A message from her manager. "Call me ASAP. They want you on TV." Mia's chest ached. The world wanted her story. But was she ready to tell it? She looked down at the receipt still clutched in her hands. The words stared back at her. Never stop believing in what's coming next, because sometimes the biggest opportunities come when you least expect them. Was this what he meant? Was this her moment? She took a deep breath, and then she made her decision. If this happened to you, would you tell your story or keep it to yourself? Comment below. If someone gave you a sign, a moment that could change everything, would you take it? Or would you let fear hold you back? Mia took one last deep breath, staring at her phone. She could stay silent. Pretend this never happened. Let the world move on without ever knowing her name. Or she could step forward, not for fame, not for money, but because maybe, just maybe, someone out there needed to hear this story. Someone drowning in self-doubt, someone exhausted, someone who felt invisible. Maybe they needed the same reminder she did, that even in the hardest moments, someone is watching. Someone believes in you. And sometimes the biggest opportunities really do come when you least expect them. Mia exhaled, steadied herself, and picked up the phone. "I'll do it." What would you have done in Mia's place? Would you have stepped into the spotlight or walked away? Tell us in the comments below. This story is inspired by real-life moments of kindness, but is purely fictional. Any resemblance to actual events or people is purely coincidental. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a little hope today. And remember, sometimes the smallest words can change everything.